Most of us were taught that success comes from working hard, staying disciplined, and proving ourselves over and over and over again. It may have helped you earn that degree, build that business, lead the team, raise your family, solve the problems, and become the person that everyone can count on. But there comes a point when working harder stops being a strategy and starts becoming a liability. This is where leverage enters the group chat. In this episode, I'm breaking down the difference between effort, advantage, access, and leverage because they are not the same. You can have access and never activate it. You can have an advantage and never convert it. You can work harder than everyone around you and still remain financially and professionally stuck. Welcome to the Do Different Better show. Let's get into it. What's happening, my leverage makers? Building real power on purpose. I'm starting with a line that's going to sting a little bit, but it's true. If your lifestyle needs your paycheck to arrive on time, your optionality is actually rented. Welcome back to the Do Different Better show, where we examine the beliefs, the behaviors, the systems, and strategies that shape how we build success, wealth, and agency, and lives that actually belong to us. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, Managing Director of the Integrated Capital Investment Fund and CEO of Do Different Better. Today's episode is called You Don't Need More Hustle, You Need Leverage. I've been on break for the month of July, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to a few of my most popular episodes. If you're new to the show, I've been walking listeners through how to grow your wealth based on your wealth identity and your wealth capacity using my SOLE framework, SOLE. The S stands for stability. It's just exactly what it sounds like. You have to get financially stable before you can do anything. The O is for optionality. After you're financially stable, you can start to identify what wealth options are best suited for you, where you are, and where you want to go. Next is L. L is for leverage, which is identifying and acting on wealth building strategies and opportunities. And the E is for embodiment, the final step. And at this stage, you, your money, your life, and your decisions are values aligned and bring far less comfort when talking about money. For the next 10 episodes, I'm going to focus on leverage phase of the SOLE framework. If you want to catch up and go listen to previous episodes, great. And if you're not sure where to start, go ahead and take the wealth identity quiz that's on my website at www.dodifferentbetter.com. And I do want to start with a statement that might be uncomfortable for those of us who've built our lives through discipline, responsibility, achievement, and sheer force of will. I'm going to raise my hand. I was one of those people. Hard work can make you successful, but hard work alone rarely makes you free. For many of us, effort has been the most dependable strategy. We worked harder because we had to. We prepared more thoroughly than probably everyone else. We anticipated the problems before anyone else noticed them. We are the ones who became indispensable. We earned that degree and accepted the additional responsibility. We fixed the broken processes. We rescued the project. We mentored the new employee. We supported the family and kept that business alive. Some of that without anyone asking us to do it. And because effort appeared to work, we kept using it. But eventually, effort reaches a ceiling. There are only so many hours in the day. There is only so much energy in your body. There are only so many problems you can personally solve before success becomes dependent upon your continued exhaustion. At that point, the question is no longer, how can I work harder? The question actually becomes, How can what I already know, own, earn, create, and influence begin working harder for me? This is the beginning of leverage. Today, I'm going to distinguish four distinct concepts that people regularly confuse, and that is effort, advantage, access, and leverage. They are related, but they are not interchangeable. And understanding the distinction may explain why you've been working incredibly hard without producing the financial or strategic return that you have been expecting. That's okay. That ends here today. So it's really important to understand that we really unpack effort. Effort is the personal energy, time, attention, discipline, and labor that you apply to a particular objective. You make the call, you complete the assignment, you serve the client, you create the presentation. These are all very distinct things that have to happen. And then you finally deliver the product. Effort is direct and is predictable. You do something and a result follows. There's nothing inherently wrong with effort. Hear me. In fact, every meaningful life requires effort. The problem begins when effort becomes your only economic model. Consider the employee whose income depends almost entirely upon hours worked. Consider the consultant who must personally deliver every single engagement or contract deliverable. Consider the entrepreneur who can't take a week off without revenue declining. Consider the content creator who must produce something new every day because nothing previously created continues generating value. These individuals may be highly productive, but they have limited leverage. Their output remains closely tied to their personal labor. That creates what I call the effort trap. Every time you want a larger result, you assume you must contribute more personal energy. You want more income, so you accept another client. You want recognition, so you join another committee. You want the business to grow, so you work longer hours. You want financial stability, so you take on a second job. Sound familiar? You want your team to perform, so you begin to do their work. I have also been a victim of that, or guilty of that, I should say. At first, the additional effort may produce additional results. Eventually, however, the return begins to decline. You are spending more energy to produce smaller improvements. That is the diminishing return on effort. Effort can create success without creating wealth. There is an important difference between earning money and building wealth. Effort can generate income, but wealth requires that some portion of that income be converted into something that can appreciate, produce cash flow, reduce future expenses, increase ownership, create negotiating power, expand your choices, continue producing value without requiring the same amount of labor. And that something might be an investment account, business equity that is created or through an acquisition, real estate, intellectual property, a licensing agreement, a repeatable operating system, a strong professional reputation, a high value network, a team that can execute without constant intervention, a body of content that continues attracting opportunities, or a contractual right to future revenue. Effort can help you acquire these things, but effort itself is not the actual asset. So, imagine two consultants. I want to bring this home for you. Consultant A earns $250 an hour and delivers every project personally. Consultant B delivers a repeatable methodology, trains other facilitators, licenses the methodology, and is paid for keynote appearances that introduce organizations to the larger system. Consultant A may initially earn more money, but consultant B is building leverage so they can do other things than just delivering the content. The issue is not that consultant B does not work hard. The difference is that her work creates structures that can produce additional results and income later. Her effort leaves something behind. That is a question I want you to begin asking. When I finish the work, what remains that can continue creating value? If the answer is always nothing, you may have income, but you do not have enough leverage. Ask yourself, where does my income stop when my labor stops? What responsibilities depend too heavily on my personal intervention? Where am I solving the same problem repeatedly? What work am I doing that should become a process, an asset, a product, or a system? Or where have I mistaken effort for value? That final question matters. Being needed can feel like proof of importance. But if everyone and everything depends on you, you do not have leverage. You have a bottleneck. So, I hope that you're starting to maybe understand, what the difference is between your effort and leverage. So again, your effort is the actual power and like action that you are doing that produces a result. But leverage is, can I get this to be done by somebody else? Can I turn this into something that creates value well beyond me appearing every time? I went through this in my own consulting business. I got to the point where I didn't want to deal with another report that I had to produce. I wanted to show people how to replicate the same report for potential clients. So now, this is also the trap that I find entrepreneurs fall into very, very often. They think that they're the only one who can solve the problem, or they say no one's going to do it like me. And when they come to me, my response to them is, you're exactly right. No one is going to do it the way that you do. So either one, you are going to accept that, and because you can't continue to do it all unless you don't want any employees and you want to be the only person doing it. You're choosing the life of a solopreneur, or you need to reimagine the work that you do so it can be replicable, so you can teach other people to do it, whether that's other employees, whether that's other contractors, and you have some sort of licensing situation, whatever the case may be. That is the objective, because once you start leveraging your hours for you to be making money while other people are doing the work, and you can be thinking about, what are the bigger partnerships that I can create? What are the bigger contracts that I can create? I can create a contract that actually produces 5 years of work instead of 3 months of work. Those are the things. That's what I talk about when I talk about moving to a CEO mindset. You're working on the business instead of in the business. But the same can be true in your own personal finances. Are you just working and just working hour by hour by hour? Are you thinking about, how do I leverage this up, or how do I leverage what I know that I've learned from this job? Can I package that into something? Now, obviously, you don't want to break any proprietary rules with your job, but if there's a system that you have figured out to expedite a process, or you figured out a tool that can improve how other companies who do the same work as you do what they do better or faster, these are the kinds of things that start to begin to create leverage. You're listening to the Do Different Better show, and I will see you after the break. Welcome back to the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen. Earlier, I talked about the difference between effort and leverage. Now, I want to distinguish effort from advantage. Advantage is a condition that improves your probability of success. Advantages can include your education. Maybe you have a specific education certification, specialized knowledge, geographic location, family resources, professional credentials, good health, timing, technology, a respected employer, a recognized brand, strong communication skills, cultural fluency, existing capital, or institutional affiliation. Some advantages are earned and some advantages are inherited. And some advantages are structural and some are temporary. Some advantages are visible and some advantages are not. An advantage can make the path easier, but it does not automatically produce a result. You can have an advanced degree and remain underpaid. You can have a respected title and possess little actual decision making power. You can have capital and deploy it poorly. You can have a strong network and never ask anyone for an introduction. I actually had a colleague like that. I remember we worked on a project together, and part of the project required each of us to tap into our network purposefully and intentionally. And the project didn't end up where we wanted to go. And in the debrief, I had to have a conversation with this person to say, you did not leverage your network. And dawned on me that this person collected relationships like trophies and never actually leveraged them, never created an opportunity to create value, not only to the network, but actually take value from the network that they had. And that then all of that really cemented for me. I'm like, oh, this is not a good partner for me in working on future projects, because if they're not willing to leverage to bring other people in through identifying what the value that we had to offer, we were going to continue to spin our wheels round and round. But back to our conversation. You can have 20 years of expertise and never turn that expertise into a product, a methodology, or some kind of premium offer. An unused advantage is just merely potential. Now, access is proximity or entry to people, information, capital, institutions, markets, opportunities, or decision making. Access may look like being invited into the room, knowing the people who control the budget or decision making, receiving information before it becomes public, having a relationship with an investor, being able to reach a corporate buyer, having a platform through which you can reach an audience, knowing how institutional decisions are actually made, having permission to use a valuable system or distribution channel. Access matters because opportunity is not distributed only according to talent. Opportunity is often distributed through relationships, proximity, trust, and familiarity. That may not be fair, but that is real. That's how it is. Many capable people have been taught that excellent work will speak for itself. Excellent work does not speak for itself. People speak for it. Your work may create credibility, but relationships often determine who hears about it, who trusts it, and who is willing to take a chance on it. And access is no good without activation. Access is still not leverage. You can be in you can be in the room and remain invisible. You can know powerful people and never build reciprocal relationships. You can attend conferences for years and leave with a bag full of business cards, but no meaningful opportunities. You can have access to a retirement plan and never contribute enough to receive the employer match. You can have access to technology and use it only to create more work. Access gives you a possibility. Leverage converts the possibility into a multiplying result. This is super, super important and something I've actually learned in my career. Let's say you have a respected professional credential. I was a certified mediator. That credential is an advantage. When the credential helps you secure a board seat, negotiate a higher fee or rate, develop a proprietary methodology, or enter a market that others cannot easily access, you have begun to leverage that credential. Let's say that you have a high salary. The salary is an advantage. When a portion of that income is consistently redirected into investments, business ownership, intellectual property, or other assets, the income becomes a source of leverage. Let's say you have a strong relationship with an executive. The relationship represents access. When the executive introduces you to three qualified buyers, sponsors your promotion, funds your initiative, or brings you into a strategic partnership, access has now been activated. Leverage is not simply having more. It is knowing how to convert what you have into a result that is larger than the original input. That conversion may involve packaging, delegating, investing, automating, negotiating, partnering, owning, licensing, distributing, having strategic visibility, compounding, repeating, or replicating. This is why people can possess similar education, income, experience, or relationships and produce very different outcomes. One possesses resources, the other has learned how to activate them. And let me be clear, this is not necessarily about that leverage doesn't require energy or effort. It does. This is why you have to be thoughtful and strategic about what you want to leverage, how you want to leverage, and how much effort you have to leverage on top of all of the other things that you need to manage your job, your family, whatever. And you want to think about how do you systematize your effort that you're putting into your leverage, right? So what I find that is super, super helpful is if you have something that you are looking to leverage, let's say it's your intellectual property, let's say it's a framework, let's say it is a new strategy that you want to be able to sell to your industry from your own personal experience. Okay, it is going to take effort to put the things in place before you want to go out and leverage your network, right? So you might want to build the thing, you might want to test the thing, you want to get some feedback on the thing, and then you want to start to reach out to your network. Or you can reach out to your network sooner and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of. I'd really like your input. I really like your critical thinking on this. I'd like you to poke holes in this thing that I'm thinking about creating. It is through that then you are leveraging your network. And I think sometimes people think that leveraging their network is, oh, I'm extracting from them. Or no, the whole idea is that leverage is mutually beneficial, right? They're connecting with you and they're learning something, and you are connecting with them because they have something that you need. Maybe it's knowledge, maybe it's an introduction. I often tell my staff, I want you to leverage my network. I have a very large international network. If there is something that you would like to pursue, if there is something that you would like to know, if there is somebody you'd like to interview because they're a subject matter expert on something that is something that's valuable and important to you, go to my LinkedIn and look for those people. And I am happy to make an introduction to those people for you or on your behalf. That is leverage. I will tell you though, many people, offer that to them and they never use it. Most people won't give you that invitation. doesn't mean that they won't do it, but you also have to ask. And it's very simple. Hey, I noticed that you're connected to so and so on LinkedIn. I am working on XYZ project, or this, I'm going to be speaking at, I'm going to be coming into town, whatever the case may be is, and say, would you be willing to make an introduction? It's really that simple. The person is going to say yes, or the person is going to say no. If they say no, well, move on. It's okay. But if they say yes, what an opportunity. And this is something that I've practiced many, many times throughout my life. When I decided for to go start my first consulting gig, this was maybe 20, 25 years ago, I started consulting. And if you've listened to my story on some previous episodes, you'll know that I came to becoming a consultant after a very protracted amount of period being unemployed. And I was literally on my last unemployment check. And I was like, I've got to do something. So I literally called everyone I knew. And when I say everyone I knew, I called everyone in my phone and I said, I am going to start doing marketing and PR consulting. If you know of anybody who needs any marketing or public relations or communications, please have them call me. I am now I'm hanging my shingle and I am going to be providing these services. And within a couple of weeks, I had 2 or 3 people call me. Either they became a client of mine or they referred somebody who was a client to me. It's literally that simple. I know it seems like it's a big, scary, hairy thing that you need to do, but it is literally that simple. Leveraging other kinds of opportunities, like maybe acquiring a business, that obviously takes a lot more energy and a lot more effort. For those of you who've been listening, last year I went through 6 or 7 months of going through due diligence to acquire a business. And the deal and between my partner and I fell apart literally the day before we were supposed to sign the deal. And those things happen. You have to know that leveraging the effort that you put into leverage is not always going to 100% pan out, but it is going to pan out far more often than if you did nothing. So this is the thing that I really want you to understand. This isn't necessarily a quid pro quo. You put in effort to leverage and it produces something automatically. It's like anything. When you start to put in the effort to learn how to ride a bike, you don't just get up and ride and you're off to the races, right? You might have some bumps and falls and scrapes but then eventually you get it. This is the same way. You are still going to need to put effort into your leveraging, and then from your leveraging, take as much advantage of the opportunities that present themselves as possible to get the maximum effort or return on your effort as possible. But it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to take some work and you're going to make some mistakes. But again, if you're not in the practice of leverage, the first and most easiest thing to do is ask for introductions. That is the easiest way to parlay and start to exercise the muscle of leverage. I want you to go right now, go to LinkedIn, and I want you to go and see who's in your network. Is there somebody that you'd like to meet? Go and put that person in LinkedIn and start to see, are they connected to somebody that you know? I love how they can say first degree, second degree, third degree connection, right? And I actually literally have had a couple of people on my LinkedIn in the last couple of days who I know say to me, hey, I see that you know so and so. Would you mind making an introduction? And because I know that person and I trust that person, I said, I will absolutely make an introduction. I'm not responsible for the outcome, but I can absolutely make the introduction. So that's a simple thing. If you're not used to leverage, or this is a really maybe giving you heart palpitations, this conversation is giving you heart palpitations, I want you to do one thing today, one thing today. Go to LinkedIn. Is there somebody that you've been wanting to meet? Put their name in LinkedIn and see if somebody in your network comes up that they're connected to. And then I want you to reach out to that person and say, hey, I really would like to talk to this person for 20 minutes about what's going on in our industry, or what was their journey to success, whatever it is. Simple enough question, and say, I'd really like for you to introduce them to me, and see what happens. Send me a DM on Instagram or send me an email on the website. I'd love to hear what happened. But for right now, I hope that you're starting to see the difference between access, advantage, leverage, and effort. As we go into this final segment, I'm going to be wrapping this whole episode up. And I hope that you're really starting to feel like you're starting to get some language around these distinct parts of how you actually create more optionality that leads to embodiment. You're listening to the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram at Do Better with Elaine and check out the website to take the wealth identity quiz at www.dodifferentbetter.com. Welcome back to the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, and we have been talking about leverage, what it is, what it's not. And in the previous segments, I distinctly talked about the difference between leverage, effort, access, and advantage, because those are all very different things. They're all interconnected and they're all related, and they're actually required to create the maximum output of leverage. But here is the definition I want you to think about using throughout this series over the next 10 weeks, because that's all that we're going to be talking about is leverage. Leverage is the intentional use of an existing resource, asset, relationship, system, or an advantage to produce a result greater than what the direct effort alone could generate. That is what we're going to be using as our definition. And the key word is intentional, and it matters. The word existing matters. And the phrase greater than your direct effort alone matters. Leverage helps you expand the relationship between input and outcome. So now I'm going to talk about 7 different forms of leverage. So get your pens out. If you're driving, save this for later, bookmark this so you can come back. There are seven different forms of leverage. Now, the goal is not to leverage them or put the effort into them all at the same time. Especially if you're on this journey, you want to think about maybe one, maybe two, no more than 2 at a given time. Because the whole idea also is not to spread yourself too thin. If you've listened to me for a while, you know my saying, my one important, very important saying, dispersed energy moves nothing. I'm going to say that again. Dispersed energy moves nothing. If you have your energy set up in 10 different ways, trying to push something forward to get an effort, it's going to take you very much longer to get there than if you had taken your energy and said, I am going to narrowly focus. And from there, I'm going to put in this effort that's going to create a result that then I can multiply into something else. And then I can shift my focus because now that thing is running on its own, right? These are the things that I want you to think about, because all too often what we do is we try to do 5 things at the same time or 7 things at the same time. And then we wonder, why are we not getting further along than where we want it to be? So bringing this back, we're going to talk about 7 common forms of leverage. And then we're going to talk about how and where you can choose, right? So the first one is the obvious financial leverage. That is using money to acquire assets, reduce costly debt, fund growth, or create future cash flow. Here are some examples of that. Investing part of your salary, acquiring a profitable business, using appropriately structured financing to purchase an asset, hiring support that allows you to focus on higher value work. I think I've shared with you the story of my first hire and how I took literally $3,000. That's all I had. But I knew that if I hired somebody that was going to exponentially give me more time to close more sales, then I would be able to bring more money into the business. And fortunately, I was able to hire somebody, and I knew I had about 30 days of runway to hire this person. Not only did I have 30 days to bring them on, I had 30 days to be able to go and get the business that was going to allow me to keep her on. And I went on I wouldn't say just faith. I mean, I had some mathematical calculations, right? I had some work in the hopper, or I had some potential clients on the hook that I was looking to close, but I knew I needed the time to close them, and I needed her to do the work so that I could close the clients because I couldn't do both. Financial leverage is not synonymous with debt. Debt is only one instrument, and badly used debt can amplify losses just as effectively as it amplifies gain. Form number two, knowledge leverage, turning what you know into something reusable. Here's some examples. Maybe it's a framework, a course, a book, a workshop, a certification, a template, a diagnostic tool, a methodology, a repeatable advisory process. This is something else that I have leveraged. I've created courses, I've created content, I have created a methodology. So I am a certified facilitator. I have created a process by which I do facilitation, and it's a repeatable process. So, one, it makes it super easy for me, but it also makes it super easy for me to hire somebody else, either to do the facilitation with me, where I don't have to do the full entire facilitation. Because some of the facilitations I do, they are hours long. They might be 6 hours, they might be 2 days. I've done 2 day facilitations. To be able to have somebody to be able to, like, this is my system, this is how it works, here's the guide, boom, 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 it makes it super easy. I am not spending, I remember when I first started doing facilitations, it would take me over 20 hours to prepare. And the way that I would mathematically calculate my rate, I would be like, it takes me, for every hour of facilitation, it takes me 3 to 4 hours of preparation, all inclusive, right? That means coming up with the activities, coming up with the conversation, coming up with slides. For every hour of facilitation, it took me about 3 or 4 hours. That's a lot of time. By the time I created this new framework or this new methodology on how to do facilitations, I was now probably spending 90 minutes for every 2 hours that I needed to create. And actually, I think it got down less than that, because once I got my PowerPoint presentation, all I was doing is now dropping in different things that related to that particular client. But the rest of the slides were exactly the same. I got to a point where it was a repeatable process. So these are the ways that you can start thinking about, what knowledge do you have that you can then package and either sell to another company, sell to another consultant, sell online digitally. What can you sell that is uniquely yours, right? That you've already created or that you've already thought about. Then you put in the effort to create it, and then you put in the effort to sell it. And now, once you're selling it, it is selling on its own. The third form of leverage is relationship leverage. That is creating value through trusted relationship. And the key word here is value, right? So I told the story earlier about how I had a partner, we were working on a project, and she did not leverage her network. She did not reach out or bring her network into the project that we were working on, which was actually contractually what she was supposed to do. It was literally written in our contract. That was her role in this partnership. Some of you might be feeling, well, I don't want to take advantage. I don't want to bother people. That's making a decision for them. Now, there's a distinction between taking advantage of people, meaning you are taking and you are not giving, as opposed to reciprocity, meaning I want to tap you into, bring it into this project or this effort or whatever the thing is, and I am willing to do that for you at some point in the future. That's reciprocity. It doesn't have to happen at the same time, right? But some of you might be thinking, well, it has to be a quid pro quo in the moment. It does not. That is not what professional relationships look like. That is not what relationships that where people are trying to build leverage. That's not how they work. It is that I am going to ask of you, and some point down the line, it might be now, but you are going to ask of me, and I am going to fulfill just as much as you are fulfilling for me, right? Or that there is a quid pro quo. Hey, can you come and be a keynote speaker at my event? I think you have a really great network. I think you have a really great crowd, and you're going to draw a lot of people that we would not normally draw. And that person might say, great, you know what? I'm doing an event in 6 months from now. I would love for you to be a keynote speaker on that. Sure. Or, you know what? I'm traveling during that time. I can't do it, but please, if there's another one, I'm happy to do that. That's where you start to create value through your trusted relationships. It's not one way. The moment it begins to be one way, that's when it can start to feel icky. So I just want to get you out of your thinking. If you're thinking like, I don't want to inconvenience people, don't make the decision for them. They are full grown adults. If they want to do something, they will let you know, but you should give them the opportunity to do something. And if they say no, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like you or they don't like your project. That may be the case, right? But I'm hoping that you'll be able to look at their body language and know whether or not that that's happening. But it just might be a no right now. Doesn't mean you can't come back to them and ask them for something else or engage them in another way, right? But sometimes we're all too afraid even to ask the question, and we make all these rationales and decisions for the person without having any data. We're like, oh, well, I know that they're not going to want to do it. How do you know? Have they told you that? Ask them. Ask them. Ask them to come to that event. Ask them to come to your cocktail party. Ask them and see what they say. Don't decide for other people. We do that a lot, and we justify and we rationalize it, but really it's us making the decision for them because we're too afraid to actually engage with them. But here are some ways that trusted relationships or leveraging relationship looks like. It's introductions, it's asking for referral, it's partnering, it's sponsorship, speaking on your behalf when you're not even in the room. It's advocating for your project or advocating for you. It is information exchange. It's also sharing opportunities. Hey, I want to let you know this thing is happening. Let me know if you're interested in coming. I'll make sure that you get your name on the list. Now, it's up to them whether they come or not. That's not your job. But the whole idea is that you're practicing this reciprocity in leveraging your relationship. Relationship leverage is not exploitation. Healthy leverage is reciprocal, it's ethical, and it's rooted in value creation. Next form is reputational leverage, using demonstrated credibility to reduce the time required for others to trust you. A strong reputation can help you charge more money, shorten the sales process, gain access to decision makers, attract talent, secure media, receive referrals, and enter high value rooms. I have often found I've had several employees come over the past 10 years come into my organization. And almost every time I have said to my staff, what is the signature you want to leave behind? Because again, I've shared with them, I have a very extensive network. If you are looking for a different opportunity, if you're looking for a better opportunity, I am happy to open up my network. But you also have to demonstrate that you are worth me leveraging my reputation for you. So if you come into my organization, you come into my office and you do crappy work, you don't show up on time, you are entitled, thinking that everything needs to be bent around you, you think that you can do whatever you want. What makes you think that I want to leverage my network for you? Because that's how you're going to show up when I leverage and make that introduction. And if I know that this person thinks the way that I do, I know that they're going to think that my association with you means that I practice those same behaviors. And they're now not going to want to return my phone calls. So I always want you to think about, how do you show up in the world? Because then that is actually going to be a very distinct indication of how you show up how your network shows up for you. Next is technology leverage, using tools to automate, accelerate, analyze, distribute, or improve work. Technology should not merely help you do more tasks, it should reduce the number of tasks requiring your direct involvement. Now there's people leverage. So, people leverage is building a solid team, partnership, or delivery structure that expands your capacity, meaning you can do it faster, you can do more. This requires more than just delegation. Poor delegation transfers confusion. Effective people leverage in clear outcomes, authority, documentation, training, accountability, appropriate compensation. And finally, there is distribution leverage. Using an existing platform, institution, network, employer, media channel, retailer, association, or partner to reach more people than you could reach on your own, right? Distribution is often more valuable than creation. A brilliant product without distribution is a private accomplishment, quite frankly, right? Strategic wealth building connection is important. Your long term objective is not merely to increase your income, it is to reduce the proportion of your financial life that depends on your next hour of labor. That means gradually increasing the role played by your ownership, by your assets, by your systems, by your intellectual property, by your relationships, by your equity, by recurring revenue and compounding investments, and your strategic visibility. You don't need to abandon your effort. That is, hear me loud and clear. But you need effort to begin to create leverage. So here's my activation for you as we start to close the show. Choose one recurring activity that currently depends on you. I want you to write this down. What result does this activity produce? How often do I repeat it? What knowledge or process have I developed while doing it? Could it be documented? Could it be delegated? Could it be automated? Could it become a product? Could it create intellectual property? Could someone else distribute it? Could it continue producing value after I stop actively doing it? Then complete this sentence. Instead of continuing to personally fill in the blank, I will convert this work into fill in the blank. And here are some quick examples. Instead of repeatedly explaining the same process, I will create a guide. Instead of personally delivering every single workshop, I will develop a facilitator curriculum. So these are just a few examples of how you might want to start to think about, where do I have opportunities to leverage what I know, who I know, how I know, all of these things. So, as we conclude this episode, I hope you are taking advantage and taking real stock of how have you been using leverage or how have you not been using leverage? And I hope this show gave you some ideas on how you can shift that. I want you to take really good stock and understand leverage is not about avoiding work. It is about refusing to make personal exhaustion the permanent engine of your success. You're listening to the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, and I can't wait to see you next week where I show you how to do different better.